This video is going to explain how to complete the summary of performance form as well as the prior written notice needed for students who will be exiting special education services due to graduation. These forms are required when a student with a disability terminates special education services because they are graduating or they're exceeding the age of eligibility. And what it is the local education authority must provide the child with a summary of their academic achievement and functional performance, in addition to recommendations on how to assist the child in meeting their post-secondary goals. So this page briefly summarizes what the entire process looks like. The first step is you'll complete the summary of performance form. You will utilize the prompts to tell you what information is needed. The student, if they're 18, will receive that. If they are not 18, they will. It will be sent to their parents. And a prior written notice must be signed and returned, indicating that services are ending. And then once the student exits or graduates, the teacher will change their educational status to graduated and put the last date the student attended school as the exit date. And finally, you will send the teacher information page to Joni, our MIS clerk. The summary of performance form can be accessed by going to WebKids and entering the IEP Forms Data tab and then selecting Summary of Performance FY21. Once you get to that sheet, you will need to include the present levels for each of the following areas. Even if no is marked for reading, written language, or math, please include a general statement. Present level information could be their grade level, where they're at in a national percentile with reading, their standard scores, their strengths, and their needs. It should be more than just one sentence, and you need to include those present levels for reading, math, writing, and other academic skills. Part 2, this information is obtained through transition assessments and teacher observations. So this is a summary of the student's functional performance. This could include their general ability and problem-solving skills, their attention and organization, communication, social skills and behavior, independent living skills, self-advocacy skills, and career or vocational skills, and their experiences with those areas. And the third part of the summary of performance form is recommendations to assist the student in a post-school environment. So we need to think about what post-secondary education would help them. So if they were going to college, what accommodations and modifications might they need? What adaptive devices or assistive services might they need to utilize? Collateral support services. So think about what that child is planning on doing right after high school. Are they going into an educational setting, or will they be going directly into a work environment? And think about what they might need to be successful. Adaptive devices might be a special keyboard, specific handles in restrooms. Assistive services could be, do they need to continue occupational therapy or physical therapy? Will they need to continue to work with a speech therapist and other items like that? So once you've completed the summary of performance form, you will print that out, and then you need to, in addition, complete a prior written notice. So you will, again, access the prior written notice form in WebKids. You will check the box after you've inserted the date that you're printing this. Check whether or not your child is eligible for special education. And then you will check the boxes that match below. It's on the picture on the right and also labeled here. So we need to indicate that the child is not eligible for special education, that there is a change in services, a material change, and a substantial change in placement, and that there are other changes not involving services or placement. And then in the boxes below, you can copy and paste the text. Just obviously change the student's name to the student you are working with. So the description of the action proposed. The proposed action is to discontinue special education services upon the student, or in this case, Jim Bob, graduating for high school or no longer being eligible for special education services. Then we need to explain why the action is proposed. This is directly out of the special ed process handbook, and it tells us exactly why the student is no longer eligible and why that action is being proposed. So again, you can copy and paste the LEA's obligation to provide special education services, that entity, into your prior written notice. And then options considered and why options were rejected. Obviously, the student could remain in school and receive special education services until the completion of the spring semester, but has met the graduation requirements and chosen to graduate early. That would be the case if your student is graduating in December. In addition, it could also be that the student could remain in special education services until they were 21, but it was rejected due to him or her meeting graduation requirements. And then the description of the data: the student is meeting graduation requirements or they're aging out of special education. And then other factors relevant to the proposal: there aren't any more relevant factors because that student will be exiting special education. And then once you've completed the summary of performance form and the prior written notice, you need to go ahead and finalize this process by exiting the student in WebKids. You can click on this link here or scan this QR code, and it will take you to a YouTube video, which is a specific tutorial on how to exit a student. The most important thing you need to do is change their status to graduated. You select G, graduated with diploma, and add their exit date as the last day of school the student attended before graduation. Evidence is that they graduated. And then you go to the demographics page, email documents, select the email teacher information page button, and then email the documents. If you are in Dodge City, you need to email it to both Joni and Dulce. If you are in an outlying district, you just need to email the teacher information page to Joni. And that is the procedure for completing the summary of performance, prior written notice, and exiting a student from special education services. If you have any questions, you can email Chelsea Livingston, the transition coordinator, at clivingston@skacd.org.